Welcome back to part 2 of the interviews with Aunt Hui. I'm your host, Ben, and before we get started, I have a couple quick announcements. One is the fact that if you guys are part of the adoption community, whether you're the parents, the adoptee, or if you're part of the community through organizations and you guys want to share your story, then please reach out to me either through the comment section or as part of my segue to the second piece of information is the fact that I just built a new website, so you can reach out to me on that website, positivelyoriented.com. Please reach out to me and share your stories. I would love to have more information and resources for the adoption community. This website is going to illustrate and highlight my core mission, my values, and what I want to do with Positively Oriented as an organization to help out the adoption community, either through consulting with families and agencies with a unique and experienced lens on the adoption experiences and providing insight on that, or by providing help to agencies with creating a smoother adoption process and making sure that the child is included and helping them through challenges like going through the fog and trying to come out of it. Anyways, without any further ado, let's get right into it.
What are we currently feeling with our identities and trying to handle that while also trying to be an adult in the real world?
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit before the call about the fog as a
Yep.
term. And I would say I kind of started coming out of the fog like early 2024, January-ish, maybe like December of 23, somewhere in there. I don't necessarily know what the catalyst was.
Mhm.
I was I don't want to say typical, but a large portion of adoptees and transracial or international typically are when I was growing up, I pushed it away. I didn't want to have anything to do with China. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be white. I wanted to be like my family. Yeah, stop me if this is ringing bells. um, and so I was that child, right? My parents were very open about it. They said, we can take you back to China. At one point, we lived in China for like a year. And they're like, you can go to the language school and learn Chinese. And I was like, no, why would I want to do that? Absolutely not.
Mhm.
Flash forward to coming out of the fog, and I'm over here like, oh my God. I just kind of jumped in full hog and haven't really stopped. And now it's been like a year and a half. I don't know. How does time work? Um, but yeah, so it's definitely been complicated. My family's really supportive though, so that's nice.
Yeah. Um, what was your thought process when you walked into a conference where you met all of these other Asian adoptees,
hmm
mostly because we're in the States,
Yeah.
transracial adoptions with white families in America. What was the thought process behind that? Did you try
Mhm.
to look at similarities, differences? What was your overall experience, and did you see yourself having a community
hmm
with that group?
Yeah. I mean, it was the first in-person adoptee community thing I had done. Everything else had been online. So it was definitely really cool to walk into a dedicated space of both adoptees and then culturally relevant adoptees to myself. Um, so that was really cool. And I didn't think the age range would be as big as it was. Um, but that, I mean, if you sit down and you do the math, it makes sense. Because international adoption in China started in 92 is when it was first like legal.
Hmm.
Ethical is another question, but legal. Um, and then it tipped off in 2005 to 2008 with the scandals and then the Olympics. And they're like, oh, wait, we have some problems. And
Yeah.
so it fell off again after that. And so if you just look at the trends, it makes sense that there's like a big wave of like mid to late 20s, like early 30s, assuming we were all one or two when we got adopted in 92.
Yeah.
And then at the other end of the spectrum, we had like 17 and 18-year-olds. I think someone met like a 19-year-old and I met an 18-year-old, which is great. It's fine. I'm not saying it's bad. Um, but developmentally, their processing was going to be different. So you're going to talk to them differently. But we did have that younger side, which was really interesting because at that time I was not interested. I had no desire. And I'm like, this is really cool that you're in this community at such a young age.
Yeah. A couple things I do want to say about that is I did sit at a table for I think it was Gen Z table. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was the youngest person there she was 18 years old. And
Yeah.
then I was probably on the older side of that Gen Z table.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really funny because we came up with just bonding over these different
Yeah.
traumas and things like that that are really, really sad when we think about it, but is becoming more prevalent. And this is
Yeah.
something actually brought up in my high school where these younger and younger generations have a higher chance or I don't know if it's, I don't know exactly what it is, but they have a higher propensity for depression, for
Mhm.
suicidal
Yeah,
thoughts.
their risk
That
factors are higher than they
exactly.
were equivalent to their age group 5, 10 years ago. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that table, we had talked about our experiences with these much darker topics, but the
Hmm.
fact that we were sitting around with people who went through those same
Yeah.
experiences, we were comfortable talking about it, and we were able to even joke about those
Hmm.
adversities and be able to know that it's okay because this
Yeah.
space is where other people went through the same thing, and we can talk about it, and
Hmm.
it's going to be okay because everybody is there for each other. And we talked
I
about
can
like
make the really dark jokes and laugh about it, and they're not going to think I'm insane.
exactly. And then on the other hand of the on the other side, it's also then you have some of the older people who I don't know, did you meet Gabby?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
so um I was I was at that point where 25, I'm like fitting in with both sides a little bit. It took me much
Hmm.
more time to try and like get out of the fog and trying to discover that past and identity
Hmm.
to have that be a relatable factor for some of the older generations within that conference. Next topic, I do want to know what are some of the takeaways for you as an adoptee? What are some of the things that you kind of, if you were you, no, let me think. If you had your knowledge and your experiences, but went back to yourself when you were younger, what are some of the things that you would have done differently, or what are some of the things that you actually don't want to do any differently? And what are some of the things that you could tell yourself to comfort yourself to know that everything is going to be okay?
um, I think I did like a podcast or something. It was no, yeah, it was. I did it on Color Shift. You can tag that if you want to tag it. It's a good podcast. It was fun. It was good. But he asked kind of the same question
Mhm.
and like distinctly because this is the answer I give to all of these types of questions, and I do think it's true. My little self was not ready. She would not have accepted any of this, and if it had been forced on her, she would have rebelled, and it just would have ruined a lot of relationships. Um, there's probably some undiagnosed like anxiety, ADHD type stuff too. So I wouldn't have wanted to push anything else on like little Abby. But in 2020 hindsight, I am over here like, I do wish I had learned the language. I do wish I had taken my 6 months of Mandarin class a little more seriously. Um, I had mentioned that we lived in China for a year. I was this close to having the language. I went to a Chinese kindergarten program, and by the end of it, my mom had to use a translator. My American mother had to use a translator to understand my Chinese, my Mandarin.
Mhm.
And then we left, and I never used it again. And so I do kind of wish I had maintained that. But
Yeah.
and I'm not saying I can't learn it now. It's just a lot harder because kids' brains are sponges. But I can't fault myself for not doing it when I didn't do it. If I didn't want to go to Mandarin school, I didn't want to go to Mandarin school. I had enough happening. Um, again, I was the only Asian, so it was like none of my friends are doing it. They're going to the park. I want to go to the park. I want to go ride my bike. I don't want to sit in a dusty classroom and get yelled at by a teacher for another day of the week. Um, so
Sure.
I don't think I would change anything necessarily, but I might go back and kind of say, hey, it's going to be fine. This will come up later. You're going to have some regrets, I'll be honest. But you do what you need to do and you'll just deal with it when you get there,
Yeah.
you know. So I don't think I would change anything. I'd just be a little more gentle with myself. So
As I said in the intro, if you guys like what you just saw and can really relate to Ahoy or Abby with her experiences, please like. And if you guys want to see more of this stuff or want to also participate in the adoption community, please comment. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.